Hey, what's up? What's up, everybody? What's up, Casey? Welcome, welcome, welcome. Welcome. How you doing? Bit of a late start today. But here I am. Ready to go. Just one day at a time, you know? Thank you, just chilling. Yeah, it's a chilling kind of stream. Been trying to keep that vibe. We're just hanging out and drawing and hanging out and talking and working on whatever we're working on. Kind of taking a short hiatus from World of Warcraft, the Burning Crusade, but don't worry. Don't you worry. There's plenty of World of Warcraft to experience. I just, I don't want to burn out. Hey, it's Cassie and Casey. What's up, Cassie, the kawaii girl? Kawaii? Kawaii? Welcome, welcome, welcome. Hi. Hello. Yeah, I had work yesterday. I think we did stream yesterday, right? I think so. Did we stream yesterday? Yeah, we did. I did my pastels, right? Yeah, I streamed yesterday. Today we're just gonna do some more pencil stuff. I don't know if we're gonna continue this one. You guys want to start from scratch, or? Yeah, I had work yesterday, so that was intense. I'm trying to get used to showing up to work. It's very few and far between right now. It's only a few days each month, and I don't have any days scheduled next month. But if somebody cancels, I'm on call. So it's a modeling job, so I'm trying to learn the ropes. It's basically like I need to get used to. I'm pretty good at it. All the instructors I work with are giving me lots of positive feedback. So that's good. That's good. Getting positive feedback. Either way, it's like right now, employment isn't like the big focus on my life right now, because that can come later. They're focusing on trying to find me a new living situation, and so that's the focus, and there's not really anything I can do about that. So that's all stuff they're doing. Let me start a poll, just because probably good to start a poll so people in the YouTube chat can have something to should I do a Q&A? Ask me anything about art. Yeah, okay. And does it work for both chats? Which series? Final Fantasy or Dragon Quest? Let's go. Start a poll. Yeah, let's go. It's probably a decent poll to have. What pencils do you use? So I have, I usually use Ticonderoga 2 HB and mechanical pencil. I use Pentel Orange Nero 0.5 millimeter. So I usually try to, I'm actually working a lot more with the mechanical pencil. Oh, cool. I can actually just separate the questions from the rest of chat. That's actually kind of cool. That's cool. Yeah, I can just isolate the questions. So I think, let's actually try to do more kind of expressive work with these pencils. Basically, floss later. Are there any drawing techniques you would recommend? Right now, I'm in the stage of literally just showing up. I would recommend just showing up. That's probably like the biggest thing you can do. Like, completely honest. Because right now, basically, my biggest bottleneck is that I'm worried that I'm not going to build the habit long enough to continue to show up. So, just show up and experiment. Especially if you're like, have trouble sticking with things. That's where I am. So, I know a lot of people, it's not just unique to me. I know a lot of people out there really struggle with being able to maintain something that's really hard long enough to get good. And I'm no exception. I'm just a normal person. I mean, I guess I'm not like normal, but I am kind of like exceptional, apparently, according to people in my life that have told me that I'm above and beyond. But I'm no exception to pitfalls. And one of the biggest pitfalls is that it doesn't matter how good you are at something if you don't show up. And you're not going to get good at something if you don't show up at all. So I think like that's my biggest bottleneck. Is that I simply need to just sit with discomfort as long as I can. Because I can always optimize later. I could always improve later. But you can't improve if you don't have a normal routine. So like now, for the past like, I think 3 weeks, I've been waking up and starting with drawing after I go through my wake up routine. I'm excited to show up to draw, but I have to be able to maintain that because it's easy to show up when things are new and shiny. It's a lot harder to show up like months later and you're used to something, it's good that you're integrating something to make it normal, but it becomes boring. But boring is where things get better. Because once it's boring, now you can actually target weaknesses and improve things. So I guess that's my biggest drawing technique, is just showing up. Because no matter how good you're going to be, you're not going to get there if you can't show up consistently. Like, I would say, like, at least 3 days a week. Like, if you're going to do anything in life to improve, I mean, think about it this way. Like, a lot of us who are kind of lazy and stuff, let's use, like, watching YouTube, for example. It's so easy you don't have to think about showing up to watch YouTube videos, right? You just load up the browser, go to YouTube, and load up a video that the algorithm sends you. But there is like a mental process that you've trained yourself to do, which is like, you show up and you watch YouTube. You don't have to think about it. It just happens. That's because you've done it so many times, it's become boring. It's become normal. If you treat a skill that way, it could be the same exact way. It's going to be so normal, you're not going to see it as something strange. You're going to see it as just a normal part of your life. Which I know for some people makes things boring, but people who give up when it's boring, they're like, oh, I like art, but if I got better at it, I wouldn't enjoy it anymore. That's like saying, you know, you're not going to enjoy, you know, going to the lake to look at nature during the fall, you know, like when you start to build skills with something like music or art of any sort, you start being able to have a bigger vocabulary, which gives you a better ability to express yourself, and then you can show up more consistently and say what you want to say. Hey, Serby. How you doing? So yeah, for me right now, I'm not really focused. So it'd be so easy, right? It'd be so easy for me to just go completely all in on, like, you know, taking master classes, watching YouTube tutorials, trying to optimize like exactly like what techniques I need to do and how to improve as fast as possible, and trying to learn like, oh, this is like the best way to do this, and if you're not doing this, you're wasting your time, like that. If you do that, like, you're not ready to do that, because you're just gonna burn out as soon as you hit a wall. Are you drawing flowers? I don't really know. I'm just kind of, this is kind of what I'm like talking about, is like, I don't really know what I'm drawing lately. I'm just starting to show up. I'm just letting stuff happen. And the more I do that, the more I'm going to build like subconscious skills. And then I'll have more data. And then as time goes on, when I'm more consistent, when I'm able to like integrate art into my daily life, then I can go in and say like, you know what? How do I learn how to do this thing? Or how do I learn to do this other thing? Because then you start actually utilizing study materials, like books or YouTube videos or master classes, whatever, like courses, right? Those things really only matter when you've collected enough data over a long enough period of time to be able to know what's going to be useful. Because a lot of people, they start out with something new, and the first thing they do, instead of picking up a pencil, they watch an entire like 40-hour YouTube course. And the problem with that is you don't have the time with the pencil to be able to know how to use that. So like you have to it's like Dungeons and Dragons, right? In Dungeons and Dragons or Pathfinder or any of these kind of tabletop games, you get some kind of new item and it's like a magical item. And in order for your character to be able to use it, you have to spend a few turns or maybe a few dozens of turns attuning yourself to it. You have to do like a bunch of rolls to like say, oh, I'm going to attune to it, and you collect a certain amount of attunement points or something like that. And after enough days have gone by where you've kept that item in your bag, maybe you lose some stats, but you held on to it so that, you know, even though it used, because I guess in, you know, like we're not going to get into technical details, but in Dungeons and Dragons, you only have a certain weight that you can carry with you. So weight that you carrying an item that you can't even wear, but you need it in your inventory to be able to eventually use it. So you have to attune yourself. You have to attune yourself with the page and the pencil and the page. So that's what I'm doing. I'm attuning myself with the tools. And then like I do, as you go, you kind of like collect little micro data points, and then you can watch like a YouTube video here and there. But as enough time goes on, I'm going to know exactly, like, a lot more clearly what my exact weaknesses are and what my bottlenecks are. So there's like two major types of learning. There's passive learning. There's iterative learning, which is what I'm doing. I'm doing some work, and then I'm giving it some time each day away from it, and then I'm, you know, doing some analysis. And when I do the analysis, that's like that's iterative, right? So like I'm doing small daily, like, you know, check-ins just to see like, hey, like what was working, what wasn't working, what should stay the same, what should be changed. Like those little things over time add up. But if enough time goes by and I collect enough data points, I'll be like, you know what? Maybe I should watch a YouTube series about that specific thing, because it continues to show up, and my analysis alone is not solving it. And I think like trying to solve problems by yourself first, and only going in for like courses and master classes and YouTube video tutorials and stuff when you have a very specific bottleneck. Like if basically like if you can't solve your problem on your own over like, you know, let's say like 2 weeks or something, you try to solve it on your own, you should be able to try to solve it in at least a little bit immediately. Like I feel like solving problems as they come up and then trying to just figure it out, and if you can't at least make some sort of progress immediately, you know, maybe keep at it. And if you don't see any progress or any significant progress in like 2 or 3 weeks, then maybe you need to go, you know what, I need to learn from like a YouTuber on how to do this very specific technique. I think that's when it's the most useful, no matter what you're learning. If you're a very beginner, yeah, there's fundamentals you can learn from a course, but I feel like a little bit goes a long way, and you have to actually go in and use those. Just watching videos is not going to train your body to be able to make those adjustments. You need to show up. And so I'm showing up to the page now. I'm showing up every day now. I've already met my daily goals just now. I think we've been going for longer than 3 minutes on this page. I've already met my daily goal. You know, so everything else, I don't have to think about, oh, did I do drawing today? The answer is yes, I did. So what do I do from there? Well, just keep going. Now that's no longer on my, like, I'm not ashamed anymore of like, oh, did I show up today? Did I do enough? Yes, I did more than enough. I showed up and I thought about art. And by doing it, you're automatically thinking about it. So like even just not doing it at all. So this is why it's like, I don't think like passive, like absorbing content is like ideal on its own. But even if that was all you did, like let's say you had an injury, right? And you're not able to draw anymore for like several months. Well, does that mean you're just going to binge Netflix the whole time? You could probably watch someone paint or watch someone draw, like do something that you're going to say, okay, in 3 months, I'm going to try my best to visually like train, like to watch what that person is doing, and I'm going to internalize it by visualizing. And it would be better if I could draw, but because I had an injury and I can't draw for like 3 months, I'm going to at least use my mind to try to absorb the detail. That's obviously not as good as doing it, but if the alternative is doing nothing, then obviously I do think that something is better than nothing. And you do learn internally. We visualize, and like, you know, we know this from like pro athletes, for example, and obviously like chess players. Visualizing something is a precursor to doing it. So like a lot of like Olympic athletes, like runners, for example, when they're not running, they'll train their mind to think about what their body's doing when they get ready for a run. Like, oh, like, you know, when I have that deep breath, so that when they do show up to run again, they're playing that script in their head of like, okay, I need to keep my breathing at this certain pace. Like, I need to go down. I need to like position my body right at the beginning so I can get that explosive movement. Like they've done it before. So then they visualize it so that when they do it again, they already have that mental visualization to then put it into practice. And then that practice strengthens their, that's what like professional athletes do. It's been researched very heavily. Athletics is like one of the most researched things because fairness in sports is one of the most important things in that arena. So understanding like body performance, human, and the human limits, it goes beyond athletics and sports. It's also like, you know, we need to know like how to make the body as strong as possible so we can achieve things that we may have never been able to do before, so that we can understand how the human body works, like all sorts of stuff like that. There's been a lot of scientific research into that field, you know, particularly like stuff like running and all sorts of like weightlifting kind of stuff, especially because of fairness in sports. There's a lot of research on that to, you know, because people are always trying to push themselves. There's a lot of money invested in it, so there's a lot of research on that kind of stuff. And one of those is visualization. So learning things without doing them does have a place, but at some point you have to actually do it, or it's not really going to work. Like, how are you going to visualize something if you haven't even tried it? So it's like certain things you're not going to be able to do because of some barrier. Some of them are just literally like financial barriers. So like what I'm doing is I'm doing a lot of drawing with cheaper materials, and I'm not really in an environment that's conducive to being able to do oil painting, for example. Like I would need paint thinner, for example, and I don't have that kind of open space and ventilation. So literally, I can't do oil painting right now. So watching people like Bob Ross or Bill Alexander or other painters on YouTube, when I'm not drawing, like in between drawing sessions, when I like, you know, I like to take, I think it's actually good to not always be thinking about something that you're learning, to like give yourself like time away from it so that you can process it. And then, but when I'm ready to come back to it, but I'm like, you know what, I could do more drawing, but maybe I can have a good in between. I don't want to just watch a TV show, but I also don't really feel up because like if I've already been drawing for like 3 or 4 hours that day and I've taken a break and I want to draw more, but I don't want to like overdo it. But I also don't want to just ignore it and like just watch a TV show or something. Then I can have a compromise of like loading up a like Bob Ross or something, and then I can passively learn like, okay, when I get to the oil painting part of my journey, there's things I'm going to pick up that I'm not actually going to really solidify until I actually do it. So there's bottlenecks, right? So like there's a certain point where it's like you can only learn so much before you actually try it, because you're not going to have enough data to understand where to go next. And a lot of it is just kind of hits a wall. But it does like mentally prepare you. So it's like, okay, like I kind of like watched these other painters do these certain techniques. You know, I'm keeping like a list in my head of like, these are different things I need to, I'm going to try. And I'm going to visualize myself doing it with mental, with mental clarity as much as I can. I have a very strong ability to visualize things, because of an autistic brain. So maybe I'm kind of speaking to things that might not be relevant to a lot of people. You were doing some random drawings in your stream today? Oh, I forgot that you're a streamer. I want to check out your channel. Even if the world line changes, as long as you don't forget me, I'm there. Aw. Nice. Yeah. I didn't realize you were creating. I'll have to watch your streams, Thurby. Oh, how did you get that effect with the pen? Like it shows like a hand on a pen. Is that just like a plugin for photo? Is that Photoshop or Krita? Is that a plugin for your tablet? Well, I'm gonna have to watch your streams now, Serby. I didn't realize you were streaming. Explosion. Yeah, you're a lot more skilled at art than I am. But I don't really have that I don't really have that technical ability to like do what you're doing right now. I will work on it more, but like I've kind of changed my... I do it for sometimes. Well, I mean, that's all that matters. You're making content. You're making art. That's what matters. And it's there. It's archived. So, like, that's the beauty of it. Is even if you're not live every day, you were live at least once. So, if you're live at least once, that means it's there. It's Clip Studio Paint. Oh, it's a different program. What kind of tablet do you have? I have some generic tablet that was probably a mistake, but it was cheap, so it doesn't really matter. It's called Spud Arm. itch.io. Well, that's cool. And it just it interacts with your mouse pointer or with your tablet. Yeah, I don't know about Clip Studio Paint. I've only ever used Krita, really. I don't want to use Photoshop. Krita is free, so I've only ever used Krita or Photoshop. Not Photoshop. Paint Tool Sai. That's maybe the only one that might compete with Krita, because I think Krita has very advanced, like customizable brushes and the ability to scale a lot deeper, I think. Or maybe I haven't dived into Paint Tool Sai long enough, but my tablet came with Paint Tool Sai. But I prefer Krita if I'm going to be doing something that, I don't know, I feel like Paint Tool Sai is good for sketching, but then I may as well, if I'm going to be doing digital art eventually, you know, I think I prefer doing like art by hand. I think I'm learning more. Obviously, eventually I will want to use digital tools, just for convenience, but also because it is a different medium and it has a lot of customization options that aren't always practical. But it's also, I don't want to have to learn art and learn how to use a digital tool. I'd rather learn art in isolation with analog tools, like traditional tools like pencils or paints, brushes, right? And then later bring that to digital painting. So I don't know which one is better. For some people, literally just having the ease of access is going to be like 98% of the benefit. So like, but for me, I literally have like, I think I have like thousands of pages and a whole, like hundreds of pencils. I need to use up all these pencils. So that's actually kind of the main reason why I'm using them. You have a Huion Canvas RDS 160. And we got one vote, and this was for Final Fantasy. Who would have thought? If you learn fundamentals that will carry over to every medium, you do the technique might change, but fundamentals stay the same. Exactly. I understand this intuitively. I'm trying to bring a lot of the stuff I've learned about discipline. I didn't realize how much of that truly carries over to other disciplines. So like music, for example, something I trained my whole life. I honestly probably learned about 98% of what I actually was the most important when I went to college. So even though I grew up with music, I got a lot of passive training, but I think like the deliberate training I did in college, where I was literally working with a one-on-one teacher and learning music theory and practicing like basically like at least 1 hour a day, 6 days a week, sometimes 3 hours a day, like in 1 hour chunks, or sometimes like just 20-minute chunks. There's a rule of thirds, which is basically in the practice room, you want to divide your practice. And this is, see, I'm not at this point with art yet. So like, you have to understand, by this time, I had already attuned myself to music to the point of being able to optimize. So I made the most learning, the biggest jump I made with music was after a lifetime of kind of somewhat learning music by being in different ensembles, like being in high school band and all that kind of stuff. It was like a lot of like just over time learning, but it wasn't really like deliberately coached. And so like outside of the, you know, like the general kind of like loosey-goosey kind of coaching that happened in a group setting. Because in like high school, you don't get one-on-one coaching unless you get private lessons. And I didn't get private lessons. So I learned what I could in the class, which was, we did learn. But it wasn't until I did college, like 10 years after high school, until I learned a lot more. And that's really solidified a lot of the fundamentals about music that I had avoided most of my life. But what I don't, you know, at that point though, I kind of like had a little bit of a slow start at college because I was learning a new instrument that I had never played before, clarinet, and tenor saxophone. Like after the first semester, but I learned both, and those were instruments I never played before, so I kind of had to learn on my, you know, learn the scales and learn how to do all that stuff. But then before I started like really diving in and optimizing, but at that point I already had like a baseline of, I know how like to approach a music instrument, I know how to do all these things. And then it was a matter of really going in and optimizing. So once you're at the point where you're going, and I'm not there with drawing yet or painting. Hello, Lexac, how you doing? So basically there's a point where you've showed up long enough to then be, this is what I was talking about earlier. There's a point where you've shown up long enough and you can begin to actually go in and say, okay, now that I've been here long enough, let's take this up a notch. You know, like, how about now for the first 20 minutes, I'm going to do this specific exercise. And then for the next 20 minutes, I'm going to do this other exercise. And then for the third 20 minutes out of your 1 hour, right? Basically, there's the rule of thirds. You split your exercise into 3 different, it doesn't matter how, like if it's 3 hours or 1 hour or even like 20 minutes. Like if you have 21 minutes, you're going to divide it into 3 sections of 7 minutes. And so like, so if you're going to do 21 minutes of art, well then how about 7 minutes of really basic fundamentals, like doing straight lines, doing ovals, like doing different shading, like hatching and cross hatching, like just do like, you know, stuff like, you know, basic like fundamentals and like foreshortening techniques, like stuff like that. Like just basic fundamentals. You do that for 7 minutes. Like I'm not at that point where I'm like really I don't really think I could benefit from that when my main bottleneck is not necessarily fundamentals. Obviously everybody should work on fundamentals, but my main bottleneck is, am I going to show up a week from now? Am I going to show up a month from now? Am I still going to be drawing 3 months from now? That's my main bottleneck. And so I had to adjust my approach because I saw where things were going. I was like, okay, I need to watch this YouTube playlist. I need to watch, and I'm like, I need to read this book. And I'm like, whoa, stop, Rebecca. That's not the time to do that yet. Because I've done that before with so many different things. And that's usually when I get overwhelmed. That's usually when things start to drop off. Now, I am a little bit different nowadays than I used to be in the past, but I also, the fact that it's because I can notice when things are getting a little bit too optimized too quickly. And so I took a step back and I redefined my goal. I was like, okay, I need a short-term goal for the next 3 months, which is show up every single day for 3 minutes. And that is my success condition. And if I can do that every day for 3 months, then I can reassess my situation and I can change my goal. If I still need to train that, then I'm going to maybe move it over to show up for 5 minutes minimum, right? And if after 3 months I'm still doing that, then I'm like, okay, well now now showing up isn't the problem anymore. Let's bump that up to 10 minutes, but also let's add a bigger goal. Because if showing up for 5 minutes a day is so easy that you don't have to like push it anymore, then you've already met that minimum threshold, and that's just going to happen on its own. And so then I can move my goal to like, okay, well now I want to learn how to draw humanoid figures. So then I want to study life drawing and figure drawing. So I'm going to have to find some references. And I might do this passively just while I'm doing this initial stage. So I'm doing all sorts of different things. It's kind of random. It's almost like a big smorgasbord of like random things. I'm not optimizing yet. Hey Nino, how you doing? Yeah, somebody was asking about different carrying over fundamentals, and somebody was like, are there any drawing techniques that you would recommend? And I'm basically just trying to bring stuff from my experience studying music and what led me to burning out. Because I burned out from music in college in 2018 after 3 years of basically, I was on campus from 8 a.m. until 8 p.m., give or take a few days where I didn't feel so good, whatever. From on campus, 8 a.m. to 8 p.m., 5 to 6 days a week. Sometimes even 7 days a week. I couldn't be on campus on the Sunday. Well, if I was, I would be like on campus, but like, all the, the practice rooms weren't open. Like stuff like that. Or I'd be practicing at home. And so like when I was doing that, I like really like did that for 3 years, and I was practicing at least an hour a day. like 5 days a week, maybe like 6 days a week. I would usually practice for 3 hours though, and that was on top of going to rehearsals, like going into classes, doing music theory homework, and like listening to music, like playing music in ensembles, doing performances. Like I was like full time. I was taking like 30 units, like 27 units, some semesters. Usually 20 units a semester. So I burned out pretty hard. And I think what I learned was that I was able to get to the point where I could really grind, but it grinded me into the ground. And so I don't want that to happen this time, because that's what kept happening with art. Every time I've tried to learn art, I went too hard too fast. And I think it's just like, well, with music, I was able to go that hard because at that point I had already spent like I would say like 20 years playing music in some form. So like that's the only reason that I was able to go that hard for 3 years. But even with 20 years of experience, I still burned out, and I don't have time to wait 20 years. Okay, I want to improve today, but I need to change my goals. I need to change my mindset. My goal isn't to take 20 years to get good at art. My goal is I want to build a lifetime commitment to art. That's a different goal, and when you have a specific goal, you can have specific results. And so in order to get that goal to happen, I need to set micro goals. And my micro goal for the next like 2 months or so, because it's been almost a month and I've been drawing every day. So my goal is for the next 2 months is to show up for 3 minutes a day minimum. And I usually show up for like an hour or 2 or 3 or 4. What did you do with the knowledge after university? I mean, I apply it to every part of my life. Like everything we do sticks with us. And I kind of burned out from college. I burned out from music, and I hope to come back someday. The fundamentals are there though, and it's like riding a bike. Every time I've picked up my flute or my saxophone or my clarinet, there's some technical, like, I'm out of shape with it, right? Like, it's like, going for a run. If you haven't ran like for like months, you're going to be like kind of out of shape, right? But like you do that, you can get back in shape relatively quickly. You just have to get back in the rhythm. So those fundamentals don't disappear just because you've stopped for a while. Like, you're going to go back to it, and you're just going to be like, oh, like you're not going to be where you left off. But I think you get back to that pretty quickly because you spent the years training. It doesn't just leave your body. It feels like it might because I haven't done it in so long. But then all I had to do, if I just pick up an instrument right now, I'd probably be able to play all 12 major scales. Like, I don't want to pick up my instrument right now. I want to focus on art right now. So I'm deliberately avoiding music. That's what's been going on for a while. I'm like, if I ever want music to be back in my life, I need to take time away from it deliberately, to do something else so that I can carry over certain skills that will prevent burnout for me. So my goal is to prevent burnout, because playing music is going to lead me to the same bad habits. I'm going to get grindy again. I'm going to be like 12 hours a day, going out there, performing and doing all sorts of stuff that's going to burn me into the ground. Because I am very disciplined with music, but not in moderation. So I'm very undisciplined when it comes to moderation. I get very obsessed. I'm one of those people that you give me a task, you put me in a situation where I have to show up, and I'm going to be like making my entire life about it. And with music, that's so easy to get out of hand. Especially when other people are counting on you. And if you don't have it locked in of a healthy, sustainable mindset, that can burn you out. And it did burn me out. And I haven't played music for like 6 years. Not seriously. And I don't want that to happen with anything else in my life. I don't want that to happen with art. And I want to repair that so that I can go back to music, because I don't want to lose music again. I lost music already. I don't want to do it again. I don't want to lose it again. Like, I was grinding. Like I don't know how to convey it, how serious I was about it. But it was hurting my music in the long run. It can happen to anybody. It doesn't matter like how disciplined you are. If you have the wrong mindset, you're eventually going to injure yourself. If not physically, then mentally. And you're not going to be able to pick up your instrument, which means that you're not going to be able to do what you want to do. How can you do music if you can't show up because you're so afraid of picking up an instrument? Like, it's giving you trauma. Like, every time you pick up the instrument, you get right back to where you were before. It's like an addiction. It's like why people don't go out to bars if they're trying not, to recover from alcohol. You go out to bars, you're in the environment where you started drinking, and people will avoid the same kind of, like, you stop hanging out with people that you used to drink with. Because when you get right back to the problem, and like I have like an addiction to grinding. And with music, it's so deeply ingrained because I started music when I was like 5 or 6 or 6 or 7, 6, 7. It's too easy for me to get back into that problem. It's like a drug addiction. All I'd have to do is start playing my instrument and I would be right back where I was in college. Where I was like the same unhealthy, obsessive, compulsive musician. So that's why I've been so terrified of getting back into music. Eventually I need to get over that fear. But I don't really want to right now. I want to focus on something else, and I think art is a good compromise. I don't even know about compromise. I think it's a very meaningful pursuit on it, like, for its own right. It's not worse or better or worse than music. It's its own thing. And I want to see where it goes. I want to see where art can take me. Spiritually, if not like literally. I want to see what I can learn, because I never gave it the shot that it deserves. You won't lose it. It's like memory muscle. You'll just fall back into flow if you allow it. Proper meditation, clear in heart, no ego, and creativity will come on its own. Exactly, untamed kings without thrones. I know that I need to just get over that fear eventually, but I don't want to face that just yet. I think I have first of all, I have the right to refuse to do music at this time. I have my own reasons, and like I said, it's because of fear, and I recognize that it's fear. I'm not delusional about it. It is probably, I feel like it's a justified fear, but honestly, the best thing to do is to try again. If I really wanted to just try again, and just try to have a healthier mindset. But I'm telling you, if I picked up music again, it's like a drug addiction. I'm going to start grinding nonstop again. And I maybe I'm like, kind of like imagining this, but it's based on real data. It would take over my life. Just like chess. Like chess did that too. It took over my life. And I had the same exact problem. And I don't want that to I don't know. I don't know if it's necessarily a bad thing, because when you're obsessed with something, you really push yourself. So it has benefits. That's what makes it so dangerous. Is when you have a kind of addiction that people enable, because they're like, "Oh, but you're such a good musician. You perform so well." And then it's like, "Well, but you don't know what this is doing to my mental health." Like, being good at something and having external results, that is a separate, it can be good, but I'm not saying it's bad, but it's just like, it can be good when you have, you know, objective like success with something, but I want to do it on my terms. I don't want to do it on ego alone. Like, oh, but I need to show up for other people. Like, no, you need to show up for yourself. And it's like, people will be like, oh, why did you stop playing music? You were so good. And people are like that. And I'm like, well, there's reasons. It was like a drug addiction. And until I address that problem, my music is never going to go forward. Like, it would have tainted my music even if I did continue to force myself. It's limiting. I feel like as these past 6 years I've been working on myself, I feel like it's probably the best thing that's ever happened to my music, because I know that when I return, it's going to be from a healthier place. And I feel like I'll then be able to truly see where music can take me. But right now, I want to focus on different things. I was really bad at chess. I was really good at certain things. I'm apparently really good at teaching people, like people who are not as good as me. I would say I'm an intermediate to expert level chess player, but I actually don't really know because I didn't get the opportunity to play a lot of over the board tournaments. I played a lot online, and online I was very impulsive, and I would also play faster time controls, which kind of gives me a general idea of where my ability is. I would say about like 1100 to 1300 online on like rapid ratings. Being brilliant is lonely, for no one can truly understand you till you create it, and only then they still limited by dialogue. They can't articulate correctly compared to how you see it in your mind's eye. Yeah, and so like I feel like I've been on kind of like a side quest that's actually like a main storyline quest these past 6 years, and I'm doing what I need to do, and sometimes you have to do stuff even when people don't understand it, because it's just what you have to do. Like, you know, this is when people like, oh, they take a break from their career to like go to the Himalayas and like go meditate in a temple somewhere, right? Like that's the kind of stuff that people do when they like really need to rediscover who they are. I've been just doing that without leaving, you know, I just been doing that without leaving. I didn't have to go to Europe or to go to India or go to the Himalayas or go to Tibet or whatever to do this. I just did it kind of privately. Although not so privately, because I've been live streaming, so. I don't know if people accept that, but it is what's been going on. It might not be apparent to anybody. It might not be obvious. Hey, Ultra Edits, how you doing? Side quest is the original quest, hidden in plain sight. It reveals truth or secret untamed by the conscious understanding and awareness of what is possible. Yeah, like what I initially saw as a side quest ended up being like, wait a minute, this was the main quest all along, and I just wasn't paying attention to it. I saw it as a side quest, but it's like the only one that matters. How else are your other quests gonna matter if you don't deal with that main quest? You're gonna be like, I mean, if you want to put it in video game terms, until you do that main quest, you're gonna be locked off from endgame content. You're not going to be able to farm your best gear. You're going to be like stuck doing like, you know, the bare minimum entry level content. Which is why I need to get level 70 in Burning Crusade. I'm not in like a super rush, but I want to get out because it is time limited. I keep forgetting that about World of Warcraft. I think internally I have this false belief that like it's gonna be there, but like it's seasonal content. If I don't play it, I'm gonna miss out. So, but you know, I have plenty of time at this exact moment. It literally just launched. Okay, like there's people just starting out from level 1 right now, so they're not even at level 61 yet. I'm almost level 61. You know, even if I just waited for those level 1 players to catch up, I'd still be fine, right? Art is truly a language on its own, being presented through visual stimulation. I have something similar in a game called Solo Leveling. I heard about that. I have been slacking in my grinding. Yeah, isn't that like a manga? I remember... Isn't it a manga about people that wanted to create a video game? Or is that something else? It was like people in a high school that started creating their own video game. And like they're like in their after school club, right? Was that it? I think I read the first issue of that. Or am I imagining something different? Looks like a mountain. Now a mountain made of sharp flower, and one flower broke is falling off. Possibly. Yeah, like this one is like peeling off, right? I kind of just let things happen. I try to trust my subconscious. Like I said, this is why I'm kind of just, my goal right now is not to optimize and try to do like heavy like reference studies or anything like that. I'm literally just trying to show up and kind of give myself a benchmark for these like first couple of months. I just want to show up and just draw somewhat unconsciously. Not unconscious, but like kind of just see where things, like just attune myself to it. See what happens. And then I can go in and say, you know what? I keep noticing this thing. How about I try to step it up a notch, you know, after the first 3 months, right? I approach things very meticulously and specifically. That's how I work. So it's like when it might seem like I'm going really slowly or doing something wrong, that's because I deliberately imposed a restriction on myself. My goal is not to optimize to be a super amazing artist as fast as possible. My goal is to learn art. That's a different goal. Because I could probably learn how to do more highly rendered, deliberate, like, sketches of and finished pieces if I, like, you know, did more references and like really pushed, like, trying to get life, like, you know, more true to life 3-dimensional depictions. Like, if I really optimized for it, I probably would improve very rapidly, but like my goal right now is not to render perfectly. My goal is to stick with this long term. And while I'm doing that, I'm kind of getting some passive data of like, I'm seeing where my mind is in real time on the page. Like, this is kind of where my mind is subconsciously. Like, I'm just letting the pencil do the talking. Because I do think that your mind has ways of talking to yourself that are nonverbal. And I'm trying to like let it talk. And so until I actually let it talk long enough, I feel like optimizing and learning specifics and doing specific exercises like drawing from references and stuff, that can all come later. I'm not going to lose the ability to do that. But right now, I feel like the most important thing for me to do is to just let things happen. Reference is boring, but it's useful. Yeah, so like reference is boring, imagination is fun, but my imagination can't thrive without fundamentals. How am I supposed to draw or paint what is in my imagination if I don't have the fundamental techniques to be able to do that? That's where I think a lot of people get stuck, is because they only stay in pure imagination and pure like enjoyment. And you need to at some point be deliberate about training. Like, going for a run is very fun, but like at a certain point, like, if you want to get good at running, you're going to have to push yourself and train specific fundamentals. It becomes hard work. And, that's where hard work pays off, though, is when you've collected enough data to know what hard work to do. And I feel like if I started optimizing right now, I would run into the same problems that I did with music, and that defeats the whole purpose of learning art in the first place. Because I also want to repair this fundamental like shift in my brain so that I can return to music as well. I want to bring it with me to other aspects of my life. Well, thank you, Zico. Everything that you do carries over into every other thing that you do. So if you practice something, and it's not even just about the technical ability, it's the mindset. You're practicing how your brain works. You're practicing how you approach a problem. You're going to approach other problems in your life. It's going to carry over. And if I do that haphazardly, I might risk a lot. And I don't want to. I want to actually do things correctly. Which means that I'm going to have to allow fundamental work to kind of take a more passive seat until things are firmly locked in my specific goal, which is I want to be able to still show up 3 months from now. If I'm not drawing 3 months from now, then it doesn't matter how much reference drawing I did. It doesn't matter how many fundamental exercises I did, because I won't continue. So my goal is to show up as consistently as possible, as in daily, 7 days a week, 3 minutes minimum. And if I show up for 3 minutes, even if I just show up and make some marks on the page for 3 minutes, the output, like whatever art I make, is almost, I would say, completely inconsequential. Because the thing I'm training is that I'm locking myself into a habit. Like, it's just pencil in hand, lean over, like with good posture, hopefully. Make marks on the page with some sort of goal in mind, like some deliberation, right? Do that for 3 minutes. Pencil down. I just trained a pathway in my brain. The output doesn't actually matter. It's that I did it. Like, that's what I'm training right now. And hopefully I can get some cool art in the process. You're doing that? Well, thank you. I have done the work. I'm constantly learning, but found loopholes to skip the hard steps for now and learn it later and visually understand it better. Yeah, and the thing is it's never really too late. you could always go back and retrain yourself. And I think like a lot of people are afraid of learning bad habits. And to an extent, bad habits are really not good to learn. But if the trade-off is that you learn bad habits, but you're showing up, then you can always fix it later. It might be harder the longer you do that, but I don't think it's ever too late. Because I would rather somebody have extreme bad habits, but they can show up every day, than somebody who has really good habits, but hasn't showed up for an entire year. Right? Like, oh, this student has trained fundamentals perfectly right out of the textbook and has drilled the exercise for 12 hours a day this past 3 months, but burned out and had an injury, had to go to the hospital because this student can't even pick up a pencil now without having extreme panic attacks. Right? Picks up a pencil and is like, no! Right? Because this student was training for like 12 hours a day doing circles on a page. Right? Doing extreme fundamentals. And then had to go to the mental hospital and now can't even pick up a pencil without a panic attack. And can't draw for another year or two. Right? So like, I would rather have a student be like, you know what? I'm just going to make some random art today. And they're like, okay, cool. Like, did you do your fundamental exercise? You know, I did it for like 2 minutes. Good enough. Like, thumbs up. You did fundamentals at all. That's good. You did fundamentals for 2 minutes, for 1 minute, for 30 seconds. At least you did art. It would have been good even if you didn't do the because you're doing fundamentals even just by holding the pencil and like making marks on the page, right? Like this, like me doing a straight line. That is fundamental practice. Me doing a circle. That is fundamental practice. Well, it's a oval. Me doing ovals. That's fundamental practice. Like, even just showing up to do random things is still fundamental practice. And if you do it for 2 minutes a day, or even 30 seconds a day if you need to, then everything else you do is gravy. Hey, what up, Sonic Crew? Sonic boom, Sonic boom, Sonic boom. Why do you look so pretty? I don't know, T-Mouse. Why do I look so pretty? Tell me why. I show up every single day like a mantra, an extension of myself to constantly excite my mind, to want to wake up the next morning and with proper mindset, crystal clear thinking. Bad habits come and go. Yeah, exactly. You could always fix a bad habit later. It's like, I feel like it's this myth that people kind of drill into people with good intentions. Hey, Dubcon Gaming. Hey, cutie. I think it's something that a lot of people have experience with their coaches or their teachers. Is they're trying to train good habits, and they say, oh, well, it's harder to unlearn a bad habit than it is to do it the right way. And obviously, if you can learn it the right way to begin with, more power to you. But if your bottleneck is that you have hard time showing up to things, then that's your habit you want to fix. Which, if you think about it that way, you are trying to unlearn that habit first before you start learning actual like little nuances of the craft itself, right? So like, I'm trying to learn the most important habit, which is showing up consistently. And so that's why I'm doing these live streams. That's why I've been talking to you guys about this so much. And it's also integrating a lot of other stuff I've been working on. Some of it I don't necessarily share with stream. I have like a team of behavioral therapists, and they're really happy that I'm working on art. It's integrating a lot of emotional work that I've been working on. It's kind of putting everything together. Because art, I feel like it's a fundamental skill, and I think there's a lot of people who should be doing art. I think everybody should do art. Like, just like everybody should be writing. Like, there's just one of those things that no matter what you do in your life, everybody should do it in some capacity. Even if it's only a little bit. Not everybody's going to be a professional or make a living off of things. But I do think it's something that everybody should do. Because it helps put everything together in your mind. I feel more focused. I feel like I understand things more clearly now. Like, I'm thinking about things in a more deliberate fashion now. I'm thinking about things more literally. Like, well, how does this thing look in 3D space? So if you really think about it, even though I'm not going out of my way to train fundamentals, I am learning fundamentals. Because, like, I'm having dreams where I'm, like, painting or drawing in the dream and, like, looking at a reference and, like, trying to understand the angles and how the foreshortening works. Like, I'm doing that in my dreams. So, like, my brain is processing these things. Like, I was, like, literally drawing in my dream last night. Like, that's good news. That means that it's integrating into my subconscious. And not only that, it's integrating other things that have been difficult for me to really think about and understand. And so, like, I can understand things in a deeper level now because I'm training a different muscle. Meditation solved all my mind problems, trauma, shame, emotional stress blockages. Everything is slowly just washing out of my soul like a newborn vessel with properly tuning aligned with me. Hell yeah, I love hearing that. This is actually, like, for me, this is really what I'm training. I'm training getting into flow state. Getting into a meditative state. Now, it's very different. Like, meditation is less about being in a flow state. I mean, I think it technically is a flow state. But I think meditation is specifically about the practice of getting to a state of mind where you're not working with your thoughts, you're letting them pass. I think that's really what meditation is, and that's why you do the various meditation techniques, like imagining a ball of energy, or, you know, the alternate nose breathing, or all, like, I feel like the only real reason why you do those is because it gives yourself something to focus on. So even if you just did this thing, right? This thing we all did in elementary school. You know, to bend the pencil and make it all rubbery, right? Even just doing that, you could see that as meditation, but I'm the problem is that while I'm on stream, I'm also actively engaging executive function by talking to the microphone and talking to the camera. And so it's like I'm not meditating right now. I'm just in flow state, which is good, but it's not the same as meditation. Doing something executively, like drawing or talking, is not the same as meditation. So, like, it might be meditative, which is therapeutical in its own way. Getting into flow state, I think, is generally good. But meditation is something else entirely. Meditation is the absence of analysis. The literal practice of meditation is to get rid of analysis as long as you can. And when you start analyzing, you reset. There is no losing. You know, it's going to be hard, especially if you do a lot of executive functioning. I have executive dysfunction, which doesn't necessarily mean that I can't function. What it means is that my mechanism, the way I see it, is that my mechanism of functioning is fundamentally unhealthy. And it causes damage. It doesn't mean I can't do things. It means when I do things, it's like, It's like driving without a seatbelt, if that makes sense. Just let you know you are now in a meditation state. Yeah, I mean, it's getting into a flow state is physically getting into the similar state as meditation. Meditation, though, is a practice that requires flow state, but it's a way to train flow state as well. And it's also training the ability to not analyze your thoughts, which is a different goal. Like right now, my goal is to do something, is to have executive functioning without distraction, without analysis. But it's easier to distract yourself with another activity. So adding executive functioning into something, that's like a cheat code for meditation. And when you do a cheat code, you're only cheating yourself. I mean, it's not bad. It's not like cheating, but like, if I truly want to learn the ability to stop over analyzing and quiet that mental space, I need to sit with my thoughts and let them pass without analyzing them when I have nothing but my breathing. It's like a higher level of a meditation. I guess it's the same thing. It's just a more difficult version of it. So it's not like it's anything different, I don't think. It's a higher level. By saying what meditation is, it loses its power, if that makes sense. But you want to box the idea of what I mean, yeah, see, that's kind of like... That's also kind of part of the problem. I mean, you can't lose. Guys, like and sub. Exactly, Bente Brakeman. Listen to Bente Brakeman. Bente knows what's up. Like and subscribe, bro. Ooh, ooh. Yeah, I don't know. I think that's why it's like I think live streaming has helped me in so many ways as far as this goes. Of like being able to get into a more flow state. So I guess I have been practicing meditation, but it's just I want to take it to another level. Because I have a lot of distress when I don't have something to focus on. I did the same thing with music. When art becomes like a crutch, when music became a crutch, like it was like a crutch that I was leaning on, which doesn't make it bad. A lot of people use art for therapeutic reasons, right? But when you can't reach a similar state without it, I have that issue. If I'm not live streaming, if I'm not drawing, if I'm not playing a music instrument, if I'm not occupying my mind with some other function, every problem starts coming back. And you guys don't get to see this because you only see me while I'm doing this, right? You guys only see me when I am actively avoiding that. You guys don't see what happens when I turn off the stream. When I turn off the stream and I'm all alone and I'm stuck with my thoughts, all the problems come back. So that's what I'm talking about. I want to be able to be okay without constant stimulation. That's why I'm stuck to my phone, just like everyone else, right? I don't want to just be constantly, like, stimulating. I don't want to just do constant dopamine hits. I don't want to be stuck scrolling on YouTube, doom scrolling, looking at the worst possible parts of the world, like the worst possible, things happening, all the negativity. It's just mental stimulation, and it's destroying all the good things about my life. I don't necessarily know if that's true. I think people are doing just fine, and they're even worse than me. So I think I'm just holding myself up to a really high standard. What instrument do you play? I've pretty much played every instrument, but my main instrument are, I guess I'm a doubler. Clarinet, saxophone, like tenor sax mainly, but I can play any. If you play one sax, you can pretty much play every sax. I say pretty much because I can also play soprano, but soprano is a different level than like alto and tenor. And baritone sax, I don't have a baritone sax. They're really expensive, but also that's a whole other level too, because it's a baritone like bass instrument. So that's a whole other level. Like the higher soprano range and the lower note range are different than like the ones that are more medium. So like, alto and tenor sax are pretty much the same. They do have differences, but if you play one saxophone, you pretty much play them all. I played trombone in high school. Hell yeah, we got a trombonist, a tromboner. Let's go. Tromboner. Yeah, we got a tromboner in chat. Let's go. I played trombone in high school. I like trombone because it's like pretty much... I stopped playing trombone when I went to college because I had always wanted to play woodwinds. And I got roped into trombone by my music teacher. My music teacher basically needed more trombonists. And basically he just roped me into it. He's like, oh yeah, we don't really need any more saxophone players. But, like, how about trombone? It's a little selfish, right? I really wanted to learn saxophone when I was in high school. Actually, like, since I was in elementary school. I got really discouraged. Saxophone, besides singing and recorder, when I was in 4th grade, I joined the beginner band, and you get a choice of what instrument you're going to learn. And I went through a bunch of different instruments, like, do I want to play clarinet? I have one. I thought it was too hard, so I decided not to. And I thought saxophone was cooler. So I picked a saxophone. I tried playing it for like a week or two, and I couldn't get it right, and I got frustrated, and so I just changed instruments. You played the flute? Yeah, I play flute as well. I never actually played flute really in an ensemble, only once. But I have played flute on my own, and we got some people in the chat who are, virtuosos at the skin flute. But like the standard concert flute, I've actually played a good amount. I really like flute because it's very portable and you don't need reeds. I prefer synthetic reeds, so I play with Ligier reeds, and my college instructor, my college band leader, had commented that he was surprised I was able to get such a good tone out of Ligier reeds. I think it's because I didn't have the illusion that synthetic reeds are worse, because I didn't spend years and years, and because I was just learning clarinet, I had learned on cane reeds just like everybody else. But then when I got a Ligier reed, I focused on that, and I learned the fundamentals with the Ligier reeds, and I didn't have that illusion in my head, because it really is an illusion. Somebody who plays an instrument, if you use a Ligier reed, you can sound just as good as somebody using a cane reed. There is a very small difference, but you'd have to be like an audio engineer listening to like a very specific like micro adjustment, like you'd have to be looking at like calculatory readouts, looking at for the difference. Like most people are not going to hear any difference at all between a professional playing on a Ligier or playing on a cane reed. And I think the real thing that gives people resistance to synthetic reeds is that because they trained for so many years on cane reeds, switching is too hard for them, and so they don't give it the time it needs. It does require slightly different embouchure, and like it feels different. And also, you know, the reeds are getting better too. They used to be really bad. Like synthetic reeds used to be garbage. They were useful for like maybe practicing on, but then you'd be learning bad habits and you're not going to carry over to cane. They got to the point when I was in college where they were a full replacement for cane reeds. And so I just bought them. They last a whole year, maybe even longer. But you buy one and it's like $30 a reed. So if you break it, you're kind of screwed. But if you are very careful with it and you rotate them, you get like a few different ones and you rotate them, you can play the same reeds for years. With cane reeds, you can only play each reed. And first of all, there's a whole process with cane reeds that I don't even want to fully get into. Jesus fucking Christ. Reed players are so elitist when it comes to reeds. You don't need this to be a musician. Flutists don't have to do it. Brass players don't do it. They don't have that illusion. Woodwind players have this illusion that all this extra reed care makes them better. It doesn't. It's a separate activity. It has nothing to do with your music other than it's an identity, and that's ego. And you don't need ego. If it helps your identity, that's fine, but it's just like, don't delude yourself into thinking that spending 8 hours a day adjusting your reeds with sandpaper somehow makes you a better musician. Like, just get a Ligier reed and start practicing. like, that's why I made so much improvement. Nice to meet you too, Bente Brakeman. She's experimenting and practicing her art techniques. Yeah, and we're just talking about shit. Basically, I got a lot of comments from my instructor about how he was so impressed that I was able to make such good tone with the synthetic reed, because he had been trained traditionally on cane reeds that you have to soak them, you have to put them in a plastic bag, like a Ziploc bag with like special hydration packs for 2 weeks before you can even play a single note on them. You have to buy new reeds every month. You have to spend $100 to $200 a month on reeds. You have to put them in a special pack for 2 weeks, and then you have to you rotate them constantly. So you have you have different phases of reeds. You have the ones that you just bought, that when you first get them, you don't even play them. You put them in a pack, you put them in a bag and put hydration packs in there, and you Ziploc them for 2 weeks. And then, but then while you're doing that, you take the previous version of those, you have a different stage. You take the ones that have already been doing that for 2 weeks, you take them out, you soak them for like 2 minutes, and then you press your thumb into them to set the fibers. And then you play it for 30 seconds, and then you put it away. And you do that with all the reeds. You can only play it for 30 seconds to like 2 minutes. Over the next 2 weeks, you can only play those reeds for 2 minutes at a time. And then you have a third stage, which is reeds that you're integrating into your performances and into your practices. You might have 2 separate sets of reeds, one for practicing, one for performances. You could play them for like 20 minutes at a time before you rotate them. That's why you see clarinetists, they will replace their reeds in the middle of a performance. Because if you play on it for I think the maximum each reed can be played at a time before needing rest. is 40 minutes. Because it's a fiber. If you vibrate it too much, it gets worn out. If you play it too much, it's going to not perform as well. So you have to give it like time. It has to spend like 24 hours resting. And so like you have to rotate your reeds out in the middle of a performance, which means you have to write little notes on your music like replace reed. Like you know, like it's very high maintenance. Or you could just buy a synthetic reed for $30 and have an entire year worth of playing per reed without having to, I mean, you might have to rotate them out every 40 minutes still, but you see what I'm getting at? Hey, the Flying Legend. And that's what I spent 3 years doing. Okay. Like, that's why I burned out of music. But when I got Legier reed, I was able to just focus on the music. And that's what changed. And I got a lot better after that because I started practicing more. I wasn't so focused on the reeds. But I think a lot of clarinetists and saxophonists, and even oboists, they're starting to make better synthetic reeds for oboists. Legier has but they're $150 a reed. It's insane. Okay, like for saxophone and clarinet, it's $30, like $25 a reed. For oboists, Legier sells them $150 a reed. And they can be easily broken. Like, they're really good though. I played an oboe with one, but then I broke it. And they've sent me a replacement, but then I was too afraid to play it. I'm so smart. I'm really good at sounding smart. I don't know if I'm actually am. No, apparently, according to I've been going through, I don't really want to get into this too deeply, but I've been trying to diagnose things with doctors more, because I am diagnosed with autism, but they didn't do ADHD screening. And I want to get more help, because I have problems, and I want to fix the problems. So I've been getting an ADHD assessment. And part of it, apparently, according to the doctor, I'm in the top 90, like I'm in the 98th percentile of intelligence. And she was trying to explain this to me. She's like, Rebecca, if there were 100 people in the room, there'd only be one other person as smart as you. Like, and I'm like, okay, like, what does that really get me? You know, like, it hasn't done anything for me. It hasn't paid the bills. Right? Is that 3 dragons next to each other? I actually don't even know. I'm just drawing random doodles. I've always known I was intelligent. People have always, from a very young age, people were like, you're so smart, you're so smart, you're so smart. And then it's like, well, it hasn't really done anything for me, except make me miserable. But I think that's a different problem. I don't think being high IQ makes me depressed. I think it's just there's other problems that are causing issues, and it doesn't mean that being smart is like a disability. Can you draw some kind of function? Yeah, I'm not quite there yet. I don't know how to do that. I mean, that's one of my bottlenecks in Festamania. I don't know how to deliberately make something happen that shows something. It kind of happens on accident, but it's barely indicated. And I'm gonna not try to push myself that hard. I think we're too early. It's only been 3 weeks that I started drawing again, and I'm making significant progress. But if I push and this is kind of where this whole conversation started, if I push myself too early, I'm going to end up burning out like I did with clarinet and saxophone. I don't really know if dumb people suffer less. I think they suffer, but they don't realize it until it's too late. And I don't think it's ever really too late, but I feel like it's just they delay the recognition. And then I think when you're smart, you have more control, but you're also aware of all the things, and it makes you really stressed out. And then people who don't really recognize those kind of things just see you as a failure. Because they're not mentally equipped to be able to analyze your situation. So all they see is the external. They don't see the internal. And they don't see the stuff that's happening behind the scenes. They only see, oh, but it looks like you're doing nothing with your life. You're just going live on YouTube and drawing. What is that going to do for your life? It's like, well, it's not just about me going live and drawing. This is like a whole integrated life. Okay, like, I have like stuff happening behind the scenes, you know, that these people aren't aware of. And so I stopped giving a fuck what other people thought. I just started living my life. Because I already know what's important. I don't need their input. Hey, Nikki Deef. It's not intelligence, it's obsession. See, this is one of the people I'm talking about. These are one of the people who is not mentally equipped to understand what I'm talking about. All they see is external. They don't see the process for what it is. Some people just don't understand how the inner mechanisms of things work. For example, I don't understand how cars work. So there's people who understand how cars work. They understand what every mechanism does. Every piston, every screw, every single like part that needs to be lubricated. They understand them because they understand the intricate inner workings. But someone like me, I don't understand how a car works. I would have to learn, just like everybody else. I'm not like a genius nobody is. But I don't have to understand all the workings of a car to be able to drive one. But I do need to understand how all the inner workings of a car in order to fix one. Or in order to prevent wear and tear. Which is kind of my problem. I end up getting wear and tear because I don't fully understand how the car works. But do you understand that, like, a normal person, when they see you talking about a car, somebody who doesn't understand how cars work is going to say, oh, that's just a car fanatic. It's an obsession. And it's like, no, it's because you might be obsessed, but what it is that you just understand how it works. So it's like, I understand things that most people never understand. Inner workings that work over time, because I'm trying to basically get my life to work sustainably. And the people who criticize me and who don't understand me, they don't understand what's at stake here. That I've suffered my entire life because I end up having these problems that cause severe detriment to my life. And I hit a wall and I smash against the wall and my life gets completely derailed. And I don't want that to ever happen again, because if it happens again, I might not recover from it. If I was a car with a gasoline engine, I'd probably want to try a diesel. Yeah, diesel's really good. It has noise problems. You ever go to like a drive-thru at like Taco Bell? You have to turn off your engine just to order your tacos. Like it's so annoying and it smells weird. I don't like diesel. They're really powerful engines. And it's good for like, you know, like a delivery truck and all those kind of things. But I wish I had like a hybrid or something, but those also have problems. So I think just a regular gasoline engine is, you know, just fine. But it's just if I had a hybrid car, or at least just like an electrical vehicle, and if there was more infrastructure for electric vehicle, if electrical vehicles had more of the kinks worked out, because there's issues where they just literally explode. And they also have like a mileage limitation, and also there's not enough infrastructure for refueling stations, right? So like there's a lot of problems right now in our current society with electrical vehicles kind of being bottlenecked, and So gasoline is still pretty much like the most reliable engine you can get for everyday usage. I don't like diesel because it's too powerful and too loud. And I don't want to be that loud, smelly car that everybody's like, oh, it's that diesel truck or that diesel engine just idling like like, why do I need that in my life? Hey, Rain Gao, how you doing? M for MGM. I think you've come up because I watch the Magma. No plug-in hybrids. You seem very informed. You would think that. I'm really good at giving the illusion that I know what I'm talking about. But it kind of crumbles under some scrutiny. But I mean, it's kind of impressive. But call me M4. M4, back for action, in the chat, locked and loaded with an M4. Can I come? I mean, I'm not gonna stop you from coming. Hey, the real SGL Pro Gaming. Duh. I think we should run away and frolic in an open field. Infestimania, you read my mind. Now getting into it, feel the focus. Hell yeah. Well, Anthony Cragg, no, you don't have to show your art to anybody if you don't want to. But if you want, I encourage you to try to set up your own YouTube channel. You know, just upload a few little shorts of just like, hey, like here's me doing some pencil drawings. You know, like, you know, you don't have to. You don't have to show your art to anybody if you don't want to. You could do it just for yourself. Hard to stay consistent. I get bored so easily. Once I fully grasp any form of understanding, it has no growth beyond what I learned to feel stagnant. Yeah, untamed, that's exactly what I am, what I feel. But make your success conditions so easy that you can't possibly fail. If your goal is to become consistent, I invite you to join the journey that I'm on right now. We can kind of hold each other accountable. Make your goal not I want to get good at art, not I want to make a perfect rendering, not I want to be like the next greatest artist of all time. Like, don't make your goal something so like kind of incoherent. Your goal needs to be something so directly like like it needs to be like very direct and very like measurable and very like deliberate of like show up and draw anything for 3 minutes a day. And once you've done that, you've achieved that success for the day. Anything you do after that, you're not even taking those into account just yet. Because if your goal is to get back into a consistency that you show up daily, then that should be your priority. And if that's your priority, that's something I have been learning how to do, which is you just keep putting your foot in the goddamn door. Keep showing up, keep standing back up, it's like Rocky from Rocky 5, right? Rocky 6. Like Rocky is like, it's not how hard you hit, it's how hard you can get hit and keep moving forward. It's the one who's still standing when the final bell rings, right? That's who the winner is. And so it's like life, you have to just keep showing up, and you're not going to be perfect. There's going to be days where you're absolute dog shit. But at least you showed up, right? You didn't say no. You said yes to yourself. And it's like, some people don't get that. They only look at external results, and unfortunately, sometimes those people have sometimes those people have power over you. But my goal these past 6 years has been to gain my own power away from those people, to have more agency in my own life without those kind of people bottlenecking my progress. Now I have people who are opening doors for me instead of closing them. And so like that's been kind of what I've been working on these past 6 years. But it's because I kept showing up and putting my foot in the goddamn door and not letting them close the door, metaphorically. Because if I stopped showing up, I wouldn't have made any progress, and I have made significant progress. I have achieved amazing results. I got all the surgeries I needed. I got access to resources I needed. I got my diagnosis. I got disability, permanent disability status, so that I could have an income to work with, so that I can actually move my life forward instead of stagnating and being miserable and basically being, in the past, I would have been one of those people that people just gave up on entirely, that society would have just put up in like a mental asylum. And, instead, I'm working on actually having agency in my life and having some kind of ability to function in this world, because I need additional resources. I need doors to open. I need opportunities. And so these people are these agencies are finding opportunities for me and unlocking doors for me in ways that I never had before. But that wouldn't have happened if I didn't keep showing up. So your goal isn't to be perfect. You can be perfect later. If you can't show up, you can't be perfect. And there's a saying in music, if you can't play it slow, you can't play it fast. You have to play it, if it's 120 beats per minute, play it at 60 beats per minute first. and then play it at 72 beats per minute, then play it at 80 beats per minute, then play it at 85 beats per minute, then play it at 92 beats per minute, then play it at 98 beats per minute, 99, 100, 110, 115, 120. Now you can play it at 120 because you worked your way up to 120 beats per minute. You started with 60 beats per minute. It might take you 30 seconds to do that process, but it won't take you 30 seconds if you haven't spent months and months and months getting that into your head that that is the way to do it. And you have to show up every day and do a little bit of at a time. The speed comes later. Later, when you've trained yourself so aggressively over a long period of time, you can do it like in a blink of an eye because you've already trained yourself to go through the whole process. And once you've gone through the whole process, it's not going to be the same way every time. You lifted yourself up. You're on a new level. You can make that your default now. You spent the time, you took slower initially. You probably could have taken shortcuts to pretend like you were competent. And a lot of people do that in life. They get like an illusion that they're competent at something, but really someone just, was okay with the results and they were able to get what they needed. It doesn't mean that you're competent. It just meant you were competent enough for that specific scenario. Not everybody is that lucky. But would you rather rely on dedicated function, like functional skill that you can repeat infinitely? Or are you going to rely on luck? Oh, I got lucky because I didn't actually have to put in the work because somebody showed up and gave me an opportunity and they were okay with my results, and so that makes me good. No, that makes you lucky. Most regular people have to spend a lot more time building up skill before they get opportunities. And it's like people have this like idea that everything's about luck. Most people do not have that kind of luck. Some people, they're able to get ahead really early in like a job or something because they just had doors open for them because they're like good enough that they were better than the other people. And so they basically had all these opportunities and they got the momentum from there. They might become really good later, but like it can cause some real problems when you have early success at something. It gives you an illusion that you're competent, but it's actually you're not truly competent. You just got like accolades. And when you get accolades, people confuse that with progress. And obviously it matters, like to your life, right? Like if you get certain opportunities and accolades and stuff, you have material results that change your life. But would you rather rely on your own skill that you can repeat infinitely? Or would you rather hope that someone is going to recognize you and that you just get lucky? Okay, like, you can't control that. And some people don't recognize that for what it is. They don't realize that they got lucky. That they just so happened to be able to navigate the system and the system rewarded them for it. And they don't understand that most people don't get those kind of rewards. Most people have to work really hard to get recognized just to have a bare minimum entry. And then some people, they get a couple of opportunities, and I'm not saying that they're weak or anything. It's just because they capitalized on them. They didn't squander it. But I think those people confused. They think people who don't get ahead, they have this belief that those people are just not trying hard enough. And it's like, no, dude, you got lucky. You would be right where these other people are if you didn't get lucky. You would be struggling and trying to get yourself to a level of being noticed. And you can only do that through competence. You have to earn it. Until you get lucky. You make your own luck. But most people don't get immediate luck. And I think like people who get immediate luck have this illusion of competence. And like I said, they'll build competence as they go. But I really think that it's frustrating when you're somebody who never got that kind of luck and you try really hard to try to get better at things. And because of a developmental disorder that makes you functionally disabled, people put you in a little box and they say that you're just not working hard enough, that you're lazy, that you're a loser. And it's like, well, if you were me, you would be in the exact same situation I'm in. But you're not. And these people don't have any more power over me. I used to allow all these types of people into my life. I completely separated from them. They don't have any emotional weight in my life anymore. Yeah, and I don't want to be one of those lazy, and I think you're only cheating yourself. If you take shortcuts, I could probably take shortcuts to have the appearance of being a better artist. I could, like, behind the scenes, before I even turn a camera on, I could prepare like a perfect rendering of a drawing and like just brute force my way to getting something that looks really good, and then I could have it in front of me and draw it again on camera as if I'm doing it for the first time. And like I'm just going through a checklist of like I went through a tutorial. A tutorial is not the same as like deep learning. Fundamentals means that if I didn't have a reference, I could still achieve good results. That is way more controllable than, oh, I'm going to do some tutorial to draw, a flower. And then I'm going to be able to draw a flower really well. But I can only draw the flower from the YouTube video that I watched about drawing flowers. I don't understand how flowers work. I don't understand how to make flowers from different angles. I don't know how to draw them when they're being rained on. I don't know how to draw them from far away. I don't know how to draw them extremely up close. I don't have to draw them with somebody holding a flower and how gravity impacts that and how the wind impacts it. Like there's all these fundamentals that go into drawing something that if you just try to render something perfectly without those, you might be able to replicate it really well and it looks really impressive. And so I am not going to look very impressive. But my goal isn't to look impressive. My goal is to become better. Which means it's going to be really messy and sloppy for a very long time. I think being authentic, people do have this kind of obsession with being authentic, whatever that means. But I think it is true. From a functional level, being authentic has longer term rewards. Because when you're authentic and you're honest with yourself, you don't let your ego get in the way. You might have slower progress, but when you have a higher ceiling. And so eventually you're going to be kicking ass way more than those people who took shortcuts. Because they're going to hit a bottleneck. They're going to be like, oh, I can only draw things that I watch YouTube videos of. They can only draw things that are step by step. They don't understand how to come to those conclusions without a step-by-step tutorial. They might accidentally get there. They're definitely going to be more equipped than somebody who didn't do anything at all. But it's just like, why cheat yourself when you could just take those steps from the beginning? But that's also kind of going back to what I was saying earlier. If showing up requires you to do those step-by-step or tutorials, then go ahead. But don't fool yourself into thinking that that's all art is. Art isn't just copying and pasting. Art isn't just like doing a step-by-step tutorial. Like, art is understanding how things function in the universe, in 3D space. How does gravity affect things? Drawing something in 0G is going to have different physics than something on Earth, which is going to have different physics than something on the moon. It's going to have different physics underwater on Earth. Like, there's all sorts of things that go into understanding how to draw something. How is it formed in 3D space? What is inside of it that you're never going to see, but influences what you see? Like, is it a sphere? Is it a cone? Is it a rectangle? Like, that's why we learn those fundamental shapes. And I want to learn that. That's what I'm working on. I'm trying to understand how things work. And yeah, it's going to be slower. It's going to look really messy. But I think I'm not deluding myself into thinking that making a pretty picture makes me a good artist. I feel like I'm a good artist if I understand how to construct something without a guide. Like if I can draw something without a reference, or even with a reference, you're going to understand how to draw something from a reference way better if you understand its underlying function and its underlying structure. And so that's what I'm trying to learn. And it's a different approach. And it means that I'm going to treat things longer term. I'm trying to treat this as something that I want to still be showing up to art 3 months from now. I want to still show up to art a year from now. I want to still show up to art 5 years from now, which means the solution to the problem is going to be very different step by step. Right now, my goal is to set myself such a low bar to entry that it's impossible. It would be harder not to do it. My minimum success goal, my minimum success condition is, did I put any kind of tool, like a pencil, a mechanical pencil, a ballpoint pen, a rollerball pen, an ink pen, like a dip pen, or even a fountain pen, which I do reserve those for writing rather than drawing, but I would use a dip pen, right? So like a dip pen, a brush with watercolors or acrylic or eventually oils or pastels or charcoal. Or crayons, good old Crayola crayons. Okay, like I could take crayons. Like, did I do something for at least 3 minutes today? Yes. In fact, I've been drawing for 2 hours. Closer to the screen. Do you mind holding your drawing closer to the screen? I'd like to use a blueprint and create a gift for you. I'll add on YouTube. It won't be what you create, but just as perspective. Yeah, I mean, I encourage people to do things that they want to do. I hope that I've inspired people to do what they want to do. I'm going to do what I want to do, and I have my own goals. Those goals might not always be apparent to other people. It might not be as obvious. But not everybody is going to understand what you're doing. And I think that's okay. You don't need them to understand. Or at least get yourself to a position where you don't need them to understand anymore in order for you to make progress. That's what I've been working on these past 6 years. There's going to be a critical boiling point where I don't need other people's permission to be successful, where I get myself to a place where I can sustain my own life. And so a lot of the things I do on a surface level, people are going to see whatever they see. But I know what I'm doing on a foundational level. That's kind of what I was going at, not just in art, but in life. There are things that people are not going to understand because they don't see the big picture. And I need to set all that noise aside, or I'm not going to be able to achieve that goal. Because so many people are going to come in, they're like, oh, you're doing it wrong. You're doing it wrong. I would be doing it wrong if I was holding up myself to your rubric. And I do understand that. If I was holding myself up to the standard they have, I would 100% be failing. But I have a different goal in my mind than they do. So if your goal is different, then the success condition is different. People only look at the external results, but they don't look at the long-term results that are going to inevitably come. I have been fighting for years, and it's finally starting to happen, but it's so slow. But it's like a glacier. A glacier is still a fucking glacier, though. And you can't stop it. I would rather something that can stand up on its own rather than being propped up like a house of cards that it's gonna fall over at the first sign of trouble. That's where I've been my whole life, and I'm tired of living my life like that. So these past 6 years, I've been trying to build up a brick house with a strong foundation, and it's gonna take a while, and it's gonna be messy, and people aren't gonna see the results. There are people that I've had to just stop including in my life because they fail to see the results. And they judge me based on that. Because they think that I'm not being successful because they don't see it. But it's like when you see it, you're suddenly going to understand. But until that moment, they're not going to be understanding, and they're going to get in my way. And I can't let them get in my way, or I won't get what I need. I'm not going to let them get in the way. Not again. Never again. I'm going to never settle. It's looking beautiful. Yeah, we're taking a break from this. I actually, I'm going to head out. I've been on for 2 hours. I'm getting a little weak. I need to get some food in me and just take a break. Rest my eyes and rest my hands and all that. And, being able to be okay with ambiguity in your drawing, being okay with letting it stay unfinished, is a really powerful skill that I'm trying to learn. You must become liquid cement, malleable. Yeah, and if you're malleable enough, you can then fit into all the crevices. And then when you solidify, no one can break you. I mean, there's so many different metaphors. None of them are particularly wrong. In the right context, a metaphor can be good or bad. I think like a lot of people have this fixed idea that one metaphor fits every situation. And it's like, no, if your situation is that if you trying to get results on your own under their rubric has failed you time and time and time again, then it's time to change the rubric. And when you change the rubric, they're going to think you're a failure because they think that you gave up. And it's like, no, I gave up on your failing rubric. I changed the rubric. And it's going to look messy. It's going to look really broken. But when it starts to work, it's going to make sense why I did it. Turning the drawing upside down reveals the true form as light enters the eye. We actually receive formation inverted and the brain reconstructs the information to make sense for us. Yeah, but that's why we need to take breaks from it, right? We have to come at it with a new angle. I'm trying to actually like practice being able to draw from one angle so that I can draw in all different directions and such like that. Because I feel like I rely too much on like turning it so that I can do the same angle of drawing, but I want to be able to go up and left, up, north, northeast, north, east, southeast, south, southwest, west, northwest, and north. Like I want to be able to go from every angle. And also, obviously I'm going to, turn it around and look at it. Sometimes I forget to do that, but, this is what we worked on today. It's not finished. Probably never will be finished. I might just put it in the archive and then work on something new next time. But, or I might work on it off stream later. But I'm just trying to be okay with putting the pencil down and coming back to it later. So like that's actually kind of what I'm training right now. So anyway. Thanks for the chat. I really enjoyed it. And we had some good conversation today. I hope that I helped inspire some people and, to do your own thing and do your own art and work on your goals. And I hope that you can learn something from my mistakes. Anyway, see ya. Bye-bye.